Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Promoted channel. I appreciate you joining me today. This video is going to be a little bit different than the ones I have previously done. I want to dive in and get pretty tactical when it comes to using LinkedIn as the primary job search tool. I just recently went through a job hunt myself, and I exclusively used LinkedIn. I did not use Indeed. I did not use Monster or ZipRecruiter, which I have previously used in the past. But at this point, I think unless you are in the blue collar sector, if you are anything white collar, I think LinkedIn is the king of job searching tools. The main reason being is, one, I like its filter system in that it offers a couple different ones that I do not believe the other platforms have, as well as it makes it very, very easy in the current market where you will find a lot of applicants very early in a job posting. You can leverage the filters and sorting on LinkedIn very easily to your advantage in order to always be an early applicant, or at least consistently a fairly early applicant in comparison to the other roles. And so just to give some stats on this, when it came to using LinkedIn, I did have to do one resume revamp in my overall job search, but on average, I ended up with a 12% response rate to my job applications. What I am meaning by response rate here is that if I applied, I actually got a call back. So not just simply like a rejection email, none of those are counting. But actually phone interviews or greater in my opportunity. So out of every 100 jobs, I got 12 calls. And I was overall applying on average to about 15 to 25 jobs per day, some days more, some days less, just depending on what was available, as well as time allotted. So with that said, I would like to dive in here, and you will see my screen of LinkedIn momentarily. And so we are here at LinkedIn's job search tool. I'm just simply looking for IT manager in the US. I have no filters or anything set at this point, as we will cover those in this video. And so let's start with the filter system. You have these default filters up here at the top with these drop downs. I do not advise working from these drop downs. I advise just working from the all filters, especially because this is where we can very easily leverage that early applicant status that I was referring to that's not available in those drop downs. So I just think it makes sense to always work out of here. And once you actually have a search, when you go back to the job search tool, it'll be saved in your recent searches automatically. So you don't have to sit there and set your filters multiple times over and over again. It just automatically saves it for you. So the key things that I want to point out here that are kind of universal before we dive specifically into how to always be an early applicant. If we scroll down to the bottom, if you are someone who has, whether it be professional or social commitments that you require of your organization that you work for, those are down here at the bottom. Whether that's career growth, whether that's DEI initiatives or social impact, environmental impact, things that you care about, this is something you can immediately get on the front end so that you know the values of the company and the values of you align. I also really like the benefits checkboxes here because now you can make sure your total comp package actually is going to align with what you want. And this goes both ways. You have people who are sitting there that have to have insurance and 401k and these sorts of things, but maybe you're actually on your spouse's insurance. And so it's not something you need. And so you actually are going to prioritize salary. So LinkedIn allows you to really make sure on the front end that the results that you're getting actually align with the total comp package that we're looking for here. The other thing I like to point out that matters to some people is the industry. I definitely have worked with people in the past that only prefer to work in certain industries or again, certain industries that maybe align with their values. So maybe a green energy versus an oil and gas, or a healthcare versus something industrial, whatever it might be. So you could definitely align with that here as well, which I really like. Now we're going to get into a little bit more of the strategy to always be an early applicant. So something that LinkedIn does that is very nice that I recommend doing twice a day. So if you are applying to jobs on a daily basis, which is what you should be if you are really entrenched in the job hunt, if you're someone who's more passively looking, I understand how this particular portion might not necessarily apply to you in terms of doing this twice a day. But regardless, whether you are looking 2-3 times a day or you're looking all day because you're unemployed, this is an important flag to know to use at least once a day, which is the under 10 applicants flag here. And so this will obviously significantly reduce the results that you're getting. But that is also the point, is to just make sure that you are always going to be an early applicant. So myself, when I was applying every single day, I would do this at the beginning of the day, which for me started at 8 a.m. and at the end of the day, which was about 6 p.m. So effectively on the tail end of job postings, whether it was people who posted at the very, very end of the day the previous day before, after I did my end of day search, or people that have posted throughout the day and now it's the end of the current day, that's when I would use this flag. Because this is a significant issue in the current job market, is trying to be a relatively early applicant. And by early applicant here, I'm going to say under 25. I think that's kind of the bar, maybe even under 30. But once you get beyond that, you're going to be a little bit more buried in the pile. So the under 10 applicants is crucial, being that you will always be in those first 10. So you will almost always be actually evaluated and in the running, assuming you qualify. So flagging this on and flagging this off is great. And just to give an idea here for these search results, it's cutting out 2/3. We're going from about 3,100 to about 1,000 results. So it is going to significantly reduce, like I said, overall, what you're going to see. And this is with no other filter turned on. So this isn't factoring in location, remote, hybrid, comp, anything, but it's a 2/3 drop. So do expect that pretty significantly. Now, the other side of if I wasn't on the tail end of the day searching, but I was in the midday searching, what I would do is here, because I was applying daily, I would only look at roles posted in the past 24 hours, and I would also sort by the most recent. And this is going to probably negate some of those top 10, but it still very consistently allows you to be in that top 25, top 30 of where I'm saying beyond that is where you start to get buried a bit, especially past 24 hours. Very few people are going to be, or very few companies are going to be excluding candidates that applied on day 2. They're going to funnel in for 2 to 4 days on average. And then they're going to look at that pool of resumes. Unless they were just absolutely flooded on day 1, then they might do a pause. But again, this is going to allow you to be pretty consistent. And just to kind of show you the results here, if I do this show here. So we have 0 applicants on this one. If we go here, we got 30 applicants. So we're right at the limit. We go to this one, we got 0 applicants. So as you can see, we're still pretty early for a lot of these job roles. And so that's kind of the key that we're looking for here. And so by applying daily, it allows you to stick in that. And here's a perfect example. Not all of them are still going to be early applicant. This one has 56 already still in the last 24 hours. So it just allows you to consistently overall be a fairly early applicant. But again, it's still not going to be a perfect system of always being an early applicant. But combining these two together allows you on a daily basis, day in and day out, to be that early applicant and at least be considered for any given job that you are qualified for. Now, the other component, we're going to reset our filters here. That I would like to cover are these LinkedIn badges. So there's some components here. Right now, I'm paying for premium. So it says you'd be a top applicant. On the flip side, if you are not paying for premium, it'll say your profile matches this job. Really, that's just allowing you and the employer know that there is a match, but the employer doesn't get necessarily flagged until you decide to apply. Now, that second flag will only happen, from my understanding, if it is a LinkedIn easy apply function, because otherwise you're applying through their website, and so LinkedIn has no way to actually notify the employer if you decided to go through with the application. So that's just something to note, but this is just useful that if you are trying to figure out which ones you are qualified for, again, you're in a time crunch, you can look for that badge of your profile matches this job or you're a top applicant, and it allows you to sift through the results pretty quickly. Now, I said earlier in this that the power of LinkedIn and why I think it's the king of job search tool is its networking capabilities at its core. Yes, it's a social media tool, but that's a nice to have and an add-on for job searching. But one of the things that LinkedIn does is it keeps track of all of your connections and where they work. Last time I checked, most of us don't keep up with that. So if I come here to this certain position here with Robert Half, it tells me that I have 2 connections that work here, and it has this little badge. And I can click on this, and it'll tell me exactly who it is. And so I can see these people. And the nice thing is that I can then reach out to them and say, hey, I saw this position open at this role. I'd love to talk to you more about this, but this is how you can turn your existing network into job searching when it comes to LinkedIn and into your next opportunity. It's the classic saying of your network is your net worth. And LinkedIn is really empowering you to leverage that, as opposed to the old school concept where you'd have a giant Rolodex where you're going to sit there and just make phone call to phone call to phone call and try to network. And this is kind of bridging that old school with new school technology is the old school aspect of having that network and having that Rolodex. Well, LinkedIn is keeping track of all that Rolodex for you. But now you have the new school technology that you're not making 150 phone calls of your Rolodex in order to keep track of that. Or again, if you have 100 connections or 1,000 connections or 5,000 connections, your Rolodex isn't sitting there just getting insane. So this is the power of LinkedIn when it comes to that networking concept. And then the other one that I like to do is I will make a different video on this if you like this idea. I'll do a little bit of a deeper dive, but I recommend everybody having a job search tracker, an Excel spreadsheet that is going to just simply say some basic things like what company is it, what position did you apply for, and then just have some notes about each interview step along the way. The reason I bring this up is because I also think that whether it's in that spreadsheet or in your calendar, I think you should really track your follow-up timings with a given organization. And this is always an age-old question. When do I follow up? I don't want to come off too desperate, but I want to let them know that I'm interested. And what do I want to do? It's just like having a partner or seeking somebody out, right? You don't want to come off in a negative way because you're over eager or you're too desperate or at the same time, you're just overbearing. So LinkedIn provides you the exact time of when you need to do it in the occasional badge that will show up. So you'll have two variations of this. You have response time is typically in X amount of days or weeks. The other variation of this is response to applicants in X amount of days or X amount of weeks. My advice is if it's one like this that simply says response time is typically in 4 days, boom, just that's your calendar reminder or that's your Excel spreadsheet update of, hey, if we were to apply today, for instance, right now it is Saturday, November 30th, then we would follow up in some capacity, whether through phone, email, or LinkedIn itself on Thursday. It'd be 4 business days later. Now, I think, and so this one right here is 6 days. Sometimes it will give you a range. It might say 4 to 6 days or 1 to 2 weeks or 2 to 3 weeks. I would go smack dab in the middle of that range. So this is overall why this badge is super useful, is it's telling you exactly when to follow up. And it's also reducing the amount of load in the overall job search because you can spread out your follow-ups and you don't have to feel like you're sitting there doing so much on any given day, because some days you're not going to have any responses. You're not going to have any follow-ups to do. And some days you're going to have a bunch. So it just really allows it to be spread overall. You have a methodical approach. You're doing a data-driven approach, and it's going to allow you to be a lot more successful, as well as having that Excel spreadsheet. When you do go to follow up with the company, now it's very easy for you to have notes and know maybe what to mention and what to thank them for, or call back to a specific aspect of the interview that you really enjoyed. It just makes things overall very, very easy, very, very quick, and very fast for you to be effective in this job search scenario. And these little badges are things that I have not seen on the other job boards as well. And so that's the key thing I like to point out here. Now, I don't see any variation of the 2 badges that I recommend people to just ignore. So I'm not going to deep dive on these, but I will tell you what they are. And it's essentially company alumni and school alumni. And the reason that I tell people that these are just not worth it is because, again, LinkedIn is trying to use its power of networking here, but there's no other filter other than company alumni and school alumni. So if we take school, for example, you have multiple campuses, multiple programs, and also schools that have been around 100 plus years. So it's not taking into account graduation year, program, campus, geography, any of that. And it's the same thing with a company. So if you have a relatively large company or a multi-location company, multi-state, multi-country, then you're going to get flagged with these company alumni that you are likely to have never have met. So just ignore those badges. Their sentiment is nice, but most of us are pretty under the gun and very time conscious when it comes to job searching. And so I just say it's not worth the rabbit hole of trying to network for those particular badges. So the last thing that I really want to cover here about LinkedIn that is ultra powerful and is going to bring together its core of networking is, if we go back to my first page of job searches, I can show you both it looks like that job example went away. So we can use this one as an example though. So this is the default icon for a company without a logo. If a company does not have a logo but has a posting, this strategy will not work. As well as if they are a recruitment agency, this strategy will not work. So this is for internal hire, internal postings only, and the company has to have a logo on the LinkedIn job posting itself. So if we come up here to Wolf Incorporated, I have no idea who these guys are, but they have a logo. Let's see, looking here, they do not look to be a recruiting agency. Perfect. So their company name up here at the top is actually clickable. So we can click on this, and this is going to take us to their company page. Side note, not exactly why we're here, but if you come look at their posts, I highly recommend looking at their content in addition to the traditional recommendation of looking at a company's website, because this will a lot of times be more up to date. It'll also be a lot more socially motivated, being that it's social media. So you can take this information into an interview and really have a present day interactive situation. Maybe they have a conference that they're leading or a public initiative that they're supporting. And you can go in and mention that in the interview and say, hey, I really like that you guys did this, or I really like that you held this conference. To give you an example of one that I did in my job searches, there was a company that actually ran their own conference. And I think it was their 8th anniversary when I was in the middle of the interview process with them. And so I asked them about that. Hey, what did you change from last year to this year? What really made you guys want to do this? And are you bringing competitors in? And it really just sparked a discussion about their overall desire to be an industry level impact. And they were inviting competitors as opposed to just simply a glorified marketing event. So I thought that was really awesome. And that's one way that you can tailor the content into the interview. But why we're really here is here you have their name, little description about them, and then you also have the number of employees. Well, this number of employees is also clickable. And this is really the magic here. And so what we can do is, this is a small company, so it's not that big of a deal. There's 33 total people, so it can be pretty easy for me to find who I want. And this is going to be a relatively almost cold sales approach strategy where we are going to look at either a decision maker or somebody who can report to me or something along those lines. Again, you can go all three directions of the hierarchy. You can go above you, lateral to you, or beneath you. It doesn't really matter. What we're going to try to do is reach out to people to get our name floating around that company. And at the same time, also get some evidence and information from our perspective of, do we actually want to work there? Because maybe you end up saving the time of interviewing because you do get a conversation here with David Price. You go to his profile and you go to do a connection request and you add a note and he responds back and you guys have a 5-minute conversation. And you learn that actually they are not doing well financially. They're downsizing. David's on his way out and he thinks that the company's going to be solvent in a year. Who knows? Maybe it's also a cultural issue that you get information that they require 60-hour work weeks. You're just not up for that, whatever it might be. And on the flip side, maybe it's the exact place you want to work. It meets all of your requirements. It meets the culture requirements. It sounds like great people, etc. It's just a great way to, again, in this highly competitive market, get you in front of people at the organization, get you known and floating, but also get some insider intel as to whether or not you want to work there, because that's just as valuable as getting in front of them, is knowing, oh, I'm not going to waste my time, especially when some companies are asking for 4, 5, 6 interviews nowadays. If you factor in that each of those is an hour plus the application time, that's a decent chunk of time that you're investing into a company, is 4 to 6 hours that could have been put to somewhere else that, had you known information on the front end, you could have saved that time and put it elsewhere that's more productive and aligns with more of your values and commitments. So this is what we are trying to do in this strategy, is leverage the power of LinkedIn in order to parlay that into getting in front of people. Now, if we were to find a larger organization here, let's say this were 1,000 employees, there are filters here as well. And so if we come over here to all filters, in this section, just like the job search, there's a couple key ones that I want to point out here. First one is going to be profile language. A lot of times if a company is international or at least, maybe even multi-regional, they might have multiple languages that people speak. And the last thing you want to do is try to connect with somebody that doesn't speak a language you speak. And if you're multilingual, it will have those options and you can check all the languages you can speak. As well as you could look to see if somebody went to the same school as you. And that could be a way that you could parlay that into a conversation. But the most effective one I find is actually searching by job title. And this is something where you can go super broad or super specific depending on how much you're trying to narrow down. But again, target all 3 parts of the ladder chain here, of above, level, and below. And so if you are maybe an individual contributor, target somebody that's a supervisor or manager title in your given role. If you're a director, maybe target some subordinates. Figure out some insider intel of what the actual individual contributors feel are pain points, and you can parlay that into an interview to make you already be solving problems and driving value. ultimately use these filters how you see most fit to narrow down employees. And I promise you, it will be shockingly fast how you can narrow down a 10,000 person company directory into 15 employees with just simply job title and location and language. It's pretty shocking. And this is really the power of LinkedIn. Is its core is a networking tool. And there's just a couple things with those filters, like I mentioned, that are just game changing. So as a quick recap, be an early applicant by using the under 10 applicants flag, by using the past 24 hours posted, by sorting by most recent, by looking at your comp, your salary, your benefits, your commitments. Look at all those different things, the badges of you'd be a top applicant, typically responds, review time, etc. Combine all of this and you will be shocked at how much more responses you are going to get. And when it comes to that cold sales strategy approach that I kind of mentioned in terms of reaching out to people, use that as your form of follow-up. It's a great form of follow-up to sit there and send, 2 to 3 messages per organization to try to get in front of people based on the timeline that you have. If you don't have this badge, then I would typically say set an average reminder of about 3 to 4 business days, somewhere around there after you apply, if the badge isn't there from LinkedIn. And this strategy is incredibly effective. Like I said, all these things combined, I ended up getting a 12% response rate to my applications here on LinkedIn. If you have any questions, if you have any comments, anything about the platform in general, the algorithm, profile stuff, leave comments down below. I will respond to every single one. Hope that this helps you go from being ghosted or not getting responses to actually getting interviews and taking you to the next step. Thank you again for your time. Until next time.